What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of The Bullpen. I'm super excited to introduce this next guest today. And if you don't know who this next guest is, it's okay because I'm just now getting to know him. And I'm excited to learn more about him because I'm just going to give you guys an idea again of who this is. This dude has built 5 multi-million-dollar businesses. As a matter of fact, correct me if I'm wrong, we're talking actually, it says million here. I believe it should be a B.
We have my current business, yeah.
Okay, we're talking about a $1 billion business that you've created.
Cumulatively, yeah.
I understand. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Justin Prince is the man. Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Honored to be here, bro.
I'm excited to have you on The Bullpen. So just to give you guys kind of an idea. So Justin's success story is one of overcoming many obstacles. His parents divorced at age 12, leading him to move 13 times in the next 7 years. I want to talk to you about that because I have something similar with that, right? After his first business failed, he moved his wife and 2 kids into the loft above his in-laws' garage. They were living paycheck to paycheck as he worked 2 jobs trying to get his next business going. Justin learned to intentionally unlock the greatness that we all have within by letting go of excuses, taking control, and living intentionally. Now, fast forward a few years. Again, Justin's built multiple multi-million-dollar business, currently operating a business that's doing billions in sales, right? Generating all this revenue, spoken all over the world, inspiring tens of thousands of leaders and entrepreneurs, written and published 2 books, grown a social following to over 80,000 people, all while maintaining his focus on what matters most to him, his family. Dude, Justin, we got a lot to talk about, man.
Yeah, let's dive in, man.
There's a lot to cover here, man.
Yeah, honored to be here with you, bro.
But my favorite question, everyone knows this, is like, dude, there's something beneath this.
Yeah, of course.
Right? So what's your story, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's all those are all kind of the quick bullet points. Anyone that knows a journey, I tell people there's a dream, struggle, victory. They're all equal.
Yeah.
So if you have a big dream, you signed yourself up for a struggle equal to or commensurate to the size of the dream, and then a struggle or a dream, struggle, victory. So you have dream, then the struggle, then the victory. So struggle equals the size of the dream, and then a victory equals the size of the struggle.
Ooh, I like that.
And so
victory equals the size of the struggle.
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
So for me, it was like
I'm gonna write that
I
down.
had big dreams. I had big goals. I wanted to be some of them with my life. I wanted my life to matter. I wanted to count. I came from a sales background in my early 20s, similar to what we have similar backgrounds there.
Absolutely.
And when I was 25, I was introduced to my first business and really wanted to see if I could go for it. And so I signed myself up for a struggle equal to the size of the dream, you know. And anyone that's launched a business, my first business failed. I was below zero financially. You talked about being in the loft of my wife's parents' garage. I was working 2 part-time jobs, still chasing the goal, chasing the dream. And there's a lot of times where I was like, man, is this ever going to be real for me? Like, I know it's real for someone else, but like, do I have what it takes? And I wonder if people listen, they hear you, they hear people that you have on here, and they're like, good for you guys that you figured it out. But like, what about the freaking rest of us? Like, what about me? Is it going to be real for me? And I remember laying in bed at night. It's pitch black in my room. I tell my wife, I'm like, you awake? She's like, yeah. She's like, you awake? It's like 1 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm like, am I crazy? Like, am I chasing a fake dream? Like, is this ever going to actually happen for me? And long story short, the struggle is equal to the size of the dream, and then the victory was equal to the size of the struggle. And the truth is, it's interesting. When I was your age, if someone would have told me how hard it was going to be and how long it was going to take, I wouldn't have signed up for it because I didn't have enough depth perception. I didn't have enough context.
Yeah.
I thought I was more talented than that. I thought I could get there faster. But here I am looking back, and I'm not that old now, but I'm 41. You look back and you're like, oh, dude, I'd sign up for that any day, all day, because it's better than I could have imagined that it was going to turn into. So I think that most of us have big dreams. We want a small struggle, and then we want a big victory. Yeah. We want them to like
right, of course,
fly through it.
We want the easiest route with the biggest victory. Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't we?
But they're equal. They're commensurate. So you got to kind of go through the struggle to get there. And the other thing I would share as far as how, it's funny is we were just kind of talking before we went live. So service to many leads to greatness. Like, how do you get there? It's like, how do you add more value? How do you serve more people? Like, service to many leads to greatness. The more people you can serve, the more value you can add. You got to obviously add value to yourself first.
Right.
And start to kind of grow yourself, grow your confidence, grow your commitment, grow your courage. But then as you start to do that, you start to say, how do I add more value to my customers? How do I add more value to my team? How do I build a team? How do I build a community? How do I build an audience? And that's kind of what you've done. And that's one of the reasons that you're reaping some of those benefits. But if I'm listening, the question is, how do I serve more people? How do I add more value?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I say this over and over, and I think everyone who listens to this is annoyed at me saying it because I say it so much, is the world will pay you exactly what it thinks you're worth.
Absolutely.
And the way to be worth a lot is to provide a fuck ton of value.
Yes.
Right? But I mean, so here's the thing, man. What you're saying about the victories, like, everyone wants that easy route. Everyone wants the biggest reward with the least amount of risk, which is why Shiba Inu and Dogecoin and all these things are very, very, very fucking popular.
Yeah.
Because all the stories of you put in $1,000, which isn't that much for an investment, all of a sudden you're a billionaire.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, of course.
Everyone's chasing that shit. Same with the lottery. That's why the lottery has tens of thousands a day people buying tickets, right? That's the dream. Everyone wants the outcome without the pain.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the people who get that outcome, the people who win the lottery and don't have to go through that pain, always lose it because they didn't earn it. They didn't become that person first, right?
Sure.
You have to, it's a journey of who you become, not of what you gain.
Yeah.
Right? You will always make exactly what you're worth. So you have to become that.
That's right.
And so I love that you're talking about that struggle, dude. Like, you're never gonna get there. And by the way, if you do get there, you will lose it.
You'll lose it, yeah.
If you're not that dude, if you haven't gone through that struggle to become that person.
That's right. Yeah, it's also interesting. It's like, I look back at the struggle now. The struggle then sucked. I hated it. But dude, I look back now, I'm so grateful for it.
Right.
Because it taught me compassion, taught me empathy. I feel like I understand more where people are coming from. And I tell people, take good notes during the struggle because people are going to relate more to your struggle stories than your victory stories.
Right.
You know, when they see the success, they're kind of like, well, you know, good for you. But when they say you had to go through that, like you had to face that, like that was how you felt. So people relate more to your struggles than your victories. And, you know, it's our vulnerability that connects us. And so when you tell people, here's what's really going on, that's when you can kind of get into people's, you know, go from kind of the head into their heart and really connect with people.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, because, you know, so your parents divorced at age 12, right? That, like, people, anyone who's been through that understands how difficult that could be, right? But then moving 13 times in 7 years, I want to circle back to that because I had to go to 5 high schools, right? And you know, you only have 4 years of going to high school. I went to 5 high schools, right? And so I didn't move 13 times, but I moved enough for it to be fucking hell.
Yeah.
It really is hell. You never ever settle with who your friends are. Of course. You're always jumping around. Then like, in a lot of ways, it created a lot of issues. And a lot of the time I thought it was my fault. Because I see time and time again where it's difficult to make friends, and then over and over and over again, I think back and think, well, it must be me because it didn't happen here or here or here or here, and you just keep on going, becomes extremely difficult. So that's why I want to circle back and ask you, because not very many people have experienced that. So what was that like 13 times in 7 years? Yeah,
so I have amazing parents. I lived at my mom's kind of full time. So I was raised by a single mom at her house, but then I was at my dad's on the every other weekend. My dad was very much in my life. I was an athlete. It's funny now. I feels like so long ago, but I played 4 sports growing up, and so I was, you know, we were traveling all over. And my dad was very involved there. My mom was just have great parents.
So they were still involved afterwards.
Yeah, they were still involved.
Well, that's huge. Yeah.
But it's interesting. I look back now, and a lot of the sales skills that you've developed, a lot of the people skills you developed, probably came like a chunk of it came from that time because you're like trying to win some friends. You know, you're trying to like fit in a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think for me, like a lot of you learn how to make friends at your school, on your sports teams, at churches, in your community, your neighborhood. Like you're just trying to like make friends, you know. And a lot of that leads to who we become later, like in our sales skills and like, you know, some of our the skills that we develop. And so I think it's a combination of some of the challenges going through that as a kid. But I also, you know, I look back now and it's like, I hated moving. Like we're like, we got to move. I'm like, oh my gosh, because we'd move so freaking much, like lifting more boxes. Right. You know, I'm like, gosh, dang it.
Right.
And there was some of those times where we, particularly with my mom, my dad too, my mom for sure. She, you know, we were living in some spots that weren't as ideal.
Right.
And I was the oldest at home. And I remember my mom just like crying on my shoulder as a single mom, like trying to figure it all out. And she's like, why are you so strong? And she's like, well, you're my rock. Why are you so strong? And I was like, we're going to get through this, Mom. We're going to get through this. And I was just a kid. I was probably 13, 14. And so I grew into a little bit of a leadership role during that time, just as even in my own, as a brother and as a, you know, older brother and as a son. And so, Man, it was a tricky time on one hand, but you look back at a lot of that. You've heard the old saying, I think it's Robbins that started it, Tony Robbins, but it's basically like life doesn't happen to you, it's actually happening for you.
Yes, right.
And as you look back, I think a lot of those dots connect. So Jobs said it at this commencement speech, says, if his famous Stanford convention speech says, you cannot connect the dots of your life looking forward. You can only connect the dots of your life looking backwards. So sometimes when you look back, you're like, that situation led me to that person led me to this situation. Also, you look back and you can connect them. Yeah. And it's almost like your whole life was all working for you.
Yeah.
Where when you look out and you cast it forward, you're like, man, I don't see how I'm going to get there, you know? And so if I'm listening, I'm like, how do I get where I want to go? A lot of this, your life right now is happening for you, but it's all the perspective. It's all of the way you look at it. I'll give you a quick formula I teach. Yeah. That's what I call E plus R equals O. So E plus R equals O is event plus response equals outcome. I didn't invent this. I read this in a book once. The stuff I'll share with you, the insights I pulled from it, I'll share with you that I think are ways I look at it. So event plus response equals outcome. So lesson number one is event doesn't equal outcome. So your E doesn't equal your O.
Yes.
So the events of your life, because you can't always control events of your life. Crap happens to everybody.
Yes.
We go through a lot of people have been through some real stuff, real pains.
Oh, I mean, having guests on here, I'm sitting here listening like, holy
You're like, exactly.
shit.
Yeah.
What happened?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but the event doesn't actually equal the outcome. Because although you can't always control the event and you can't always control the outcome, you always get to control your response to the event. And your response is part of the formula to create the outcome. So you own your R. You're not a victim in your life. You're not a victim of events of your life. I tell people you want to rid yourself of all entitlement. You're not a victim. You want to take full, complete ownership of your life and of your response to the events of your life. Viktor Frankl wrote "Man's Search for Meaning." So you talk about tragedy and you talk about struggle.
Yes.
It doesn't get more intense than what he went through with his family.
Absolutely.
And he said there's a gap, and the gap is the response.
Yes.
So it's the gap between event and outcome. So that's the first thought. The second thing I would say is this: the R is not react. The R is respond. And it's because great leaders don't react, great leaders respond. So you tell people, are you reacting in your life or are you responding in your life? Are you doing things where you're living a life of intentional creation, you're creating your life versus a life of reaction to distraction? Most people, they wake up, according to research, very first thing we touch is our phone. Second thing we touch is our toothpaste, then coffee, right? These are like our steps. We're in our bed. We haven't even got out of our bed and we're reacting to the world.
Maybe flip the coffee before
That's
the
right.
toothpaste.
That's right. So we're instantly into reaction to distraction instantly versus saying, I want to intentionally create my life. And I'll share this with you. And I don't mean to preach, but follow me through on this.
Preach. This is great shit, man. Go for it.
Follow me through on this because I'm an amateur on the good book for sure. But there's the very first verse of the Bible. The very first verse, and I tell people, I'm all good with what people want to believe. I'll just tell you what I believe.
Right.
So very first verse of the Bible says, in the beginning, God did what to the heavens and the earth? This is the very first verse. This is how he introduces himself. It says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So the very first identity that God introduces himself as is not as a father, is not as like the almighty. And dude, the very first identity is God's a creator. And what I believe is that we're all children of God and that we were endowed with the seeds of greatness and that we were born to win and that our playing small doesn't serve the world. And we were born to create. We're intentional creators.
Oh, I love it.
Like I like even here with you.
Yeah.
Like you've created a life. You've created a business. You're creating value for people. You're not reacting to just distractions in your life. You're actually creating it. So great leaders don't react, they respond. And then the third thought I would say is this: your R creates an E for others. So your response will create an event for other people. And so if you're listening to this and you say, how am I showing up for my wife or my husband, or how am I showing up for my kids? What response what event am I creating for other people? Because if we fly off the handle, we go do stupid stuff, we create events for other people. And as a kid, going back to, growing up, like you learn this more when you get older and you look back at your parents and stuff, you're like, they created events for me, whether they meant to or didn't mean to, sometimes they're positive, sometimes they're negative. So you say, as a leader, how do I create a positive event in other people's lives because they associate with me? Like, how am I showing up? What kind of energy am I transferring to people?
Ooh, man. See, when you're saying, like you're preaching, I love it. Preach this stuff, man. Preach it from the fucking mountaintops because this is what we need in order. I'm saying this is a bold statement, but it's true. This is what we need to solve the problems of the world. is to take accountability for your life, to realize you are the one in power in your life, to realize you are the one in control. The victim mentality creates 99.99% of all problems that we experience in our lives. And like, that's the thing. It doesn't get rid of all problems because problems happen. This is a fallen world. You could stub your fucking toe, right? You could have some mountain lion come out of the wilderness. You have no control over it. Have you ever heard of the philosophy of Stoicism?
Yeah, of course.
I love Stoicism. I like and the book Meditations with Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah, of course.
What and it ties into this.
Aurelius was huge on your response.
Massive. And like when it comes to Marcus Aurelius and like or even just anyone who applied, you know, their mentality to this idea of stoicism is that shit's going to happen no matter what, because you being an agent unto yourself, meaning you are your own entity, you have power to create on your own, as do I. Meaning there is no control I have over you or over me, meaning there are events that are going to occur that I do not control. And I have to understand that just because events occur does not mean it's happening at me, does not mean that I have to react to it. And when you study his meditations, Marcus Aurelius is considered one of the greatest emperors of one of the most incredible empires this world has ever seen. And he applies all this logic and what's happening in his life in the meditations of, you want to talk about shit happening in the empire of Rome, right? And he always is coaching himself to understand why this is not something he needs to take personally, right? This isn't something that he needs to like let himself down for. He understands the events that will happen in this world, and he is in control of only one thing: his response, right? There's agents and there's agents to be acted upon, right? And if we're talking like gospel, if we're talking, that's the principle of God, right? Is that we are pieces of God. We are sons and daughters of God put on here to create. There's no other animal, no other creature that creates like we do. Why? Because we have an internal engine inside of us that is built to create, right? Your heart beats 1 million gallons of blood every single day. Your lungs pump trillions of liters of air every single day without us even thinking about it. Without us even thinking about it. When we're sleeping, when we're not, that's the eternal engine that is always moving. That is the power to create when we decide to create. And so when you come back to this idea and you realize you're in control. And once you realize you're in control, now you have all the power to again create. Come back to Viktor Frankl, another man who is I think a perfect example along those days, Nelson Mandela. When he was in prison, the quote that he the poem of Invictus is one of my favorite poems ever that he quoted to himself over and over again, that he is the ultimate master of his fate. That's right? Captain of my fate, master. How did he say? I'm the master of my fate. I'm the captain of my soul. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a big long poem, but that's
as it gets. For sure.
It's the truth. That hits us deep down, right? So I'm curious because you talk about this, I can hear it in your voice. This is something you've really studied your entire life, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I did it my whole life, but I definitely, as I've gotten older, and as I've just said to myself, like, I'll give you a quick example. It's interesting. You see, your whole life, this just hit me. I'm 13 years old. I'm sitting in math, my math class at the junior high. I'm in 7th grade, and I wasn't listening to anything the teacher was saying. I was actually looking out the window.
Naturally.
And this was my whole academic career. Looking out the window. My parents are going through this divorce. It's a really, really challenging time for them. It's a challenging time as a kid. You're just like, trying to sort through all this.
Yeah. Now figure out the algebraic equation.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. So I thought to myself, I had this conversation. I almost liken it to like those silly cartoons where you got like the little good angel here and then like the little bad angel here. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, I can do whatever I want with my life now. I can like have sex with girls. I can like drink alcohol. I can do drugs. I can flunk out of school. I can hang out with whoever I want. And for the rest of my life,
that's interesting.
I can blame my parents' divorce because this is what happened.
That's
interesting. This little devil's like, it's a good idea. You should do that.
Could be fun.
And then
everyone's doing it.
I had this other little angel on my other shoulder saying, you're right. You can do that.
Yeah.
But I just want you to know, if your life sucks, it's because you created your life. And so you can blame your parents all you want for the rest of your life too, but you're the one that has to live. You're living this life. It's your life to live. It's your life to make. It's your life to break. And so it's like, you get to choose. And if you want to blame them, that's fine, but you're the one that has to live it. The decisions of your consequences of your decisions. Decisions have consequences. And so I was like, that's a good idea too. So I just decided to like create my own life versus blame and complain and whine and make excuses about all the stuff that happened to me.
Yeah.
And I want to say this, if you're listening to this, you're like, yeah, but you don't understand what happened to me. In other words, it's deeper than what you're going through.
Yes.
I understand that.
Yep.
I understand that. And I appreciate that. There is a lot of hurts out there. There's a lot of injustice and a lot of pain.
Absolutely.
You still own the response.
Yes.
You still own the gap. So you are a victor of your response, not a victim to the events.
Well,
so you get to own those.
Well, going along with that is, no, we may not understand the events, right? I do not understand because my parents did not get divorced. I cannot sit here and tell you I completely understand that. I don't, right? And then I've also talked to people, I've talked to women who have been raped, right? And there's no chance I can ever talk to that person and say, I understand. We cannot, right? You can talk about the most evil things ever that have happened to people. I sat here with Tim Ballard, right? And when he sees these kids, how is he supposed to talk to them and help them because of what the greatest hell they've ever been through, right? But it's, again, like we're saying, it's not the event that we should understand. It's the fact that I know that you're a human being. And as a human being, there's a power inside of you that you don't yet understand of what kind of power you can take in your life, the control you can have over that event, your response. I love how you're putting it, the event and plus the response, because we don't understand the event. But at the end of the day, what's inside of you is also what's inside of me. It's no different. There is a power inside of you just as much as there's inside of me. The difference is I've chosen to tap into my power a lot more than you have, but you can make that decision right here, right now. Tap into that power and watch what you can create. Realize who you are. That power that's within all of us as human beings. Once we really dive in, you sit here and think, I'm a king. Right? I create my own kingdom, right? And as much as governments and all these things would want to impose on that, at the end of the day, I create my own kingdom, right? I am literally a piece of God. Like you could technically say demigod because I believe in God. I believe I'm a son of God. I have the exact same power inside of me that he does. I just have to learn to tap into that power, right? And again, we're getting into this whole God thing, but that's the power. And yet you're exactly right. You can't talk to them about the event. That's not the point. The event doesn't matter. Once we look at the event is just a dot on our past. And I love how you put that. You can't, count the dots moving forward, but you can count them looking back, right? And that dot is, again, just a dot.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's who you become.
Also keep this in mind. The bigger the struggle, the bigger the story. And the bigger the struggle, the louder the applause when you cross the stage.
Yes.
So man, if you've been through it, when you overcome that, you respond to it and you overcome it, we're all going to give you a standing ovation.
Agreed.
Like the marketplace is going to say, we want to partner with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because you overcame that. If you look at like Oprah's story, just using her as one quick example. Oprah had a terrible story growing up.
Right.
But that's one of the reasons that we all just cheer Oprah on so much and stand up and give her a standing applause because we're like, man, you well done,
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
Bigger the struggle, bigger the story.
Yeah.
Sometimes you look back and you say, this struggle actually created the story. So in other words, without the struggle, I never would have had the story.
Right.
So it's the whole test. Without a test, there's no testimony. But to me, it's like the bigger the struggle, the louder the applause.
Love it. Yeah. And what you said about the two angels, I love that you said that because the truth is whether you call them two angels, but there's a ancient Indian, tale. I'm sure you've heard of the two wolves.
Of course.
Right? There's two wolves inside of us as he's teaching his son. One's evil, one's bad. They're constantly fighting. And the son asks, which one wins? It says the one you feed.
Yeah.
The one you give, time to, the one you give energy to, that's the one that wins. And at the end of the day, it still is the one you choose to feed. Because yes, there's opposition pulling in both ways. Whichever you choose to go with is your responsibility and yours alone.
Yeah.
Right? Man, we're diving into some deep shit, but this is probably some of the most powerful shit that people could learn, right? So let me ask you this. How is this correlated with your businesses?
Yeah. So for me, it all ties together. And you can rid yourself of all entitlement and be an employee all day long. So this is not a knock on having a job or being an employee. But I do
Viktor
think
Frankl was literally a prisoner of war.
For sure.
Rid himself of all that.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
Not
me,
saying they're the same though.
For me, becoming an entrepreneur and chasing the dream of freedom, which by the way, let me give you the formula way that I look at it. So if we had a piece of paper in the top middle, I write the word income. So this is the real goal. The goal is like, hey, how do we make a ton of money, right? Cool, got it. But then the bottom right corner, so if you had like almost like a triangle, the bottom right corner would be the word lifestyle. So it's like, how do we really build a life we love? So it's really lifestyle design.
Yeah.
Because if you said to someone, look, I'll pay you crazy amount of money, but you're going to go work on Wall Street. You're never going to see your family. You're going to work 21 hours a day. You'll lose your health, but you'll make a ton of money. It's not, you might say, well, I can maybe justify for a while, but the truth is you're like, I hate my life.
Yeah.
And a lot of people wake up and they're like, I'm doing what I do and I actually hate my life.
Yes.
So they say, I want to make more money, but the truth is what they're really saying is I want to create a life that I love.
Yes.
Right.
Amen.
So it's lifestyle, or it's income then lifestyle. And hopefully the more income you make, if you create great systems and teams, you can create great lifestyle.
Agreed.
But then the bottom left, so I imagine like there's circles, right? Bottom left to me would be impact. It's like, does my life matter? Is my work meaningful? Like, am I adding value to someone besides myself? Because I've also seen people make money, have a great life, and they freaking hate their life because they're not actually serving at a higher level. They're just, it's very hollow for them. And if you had all the money in the world, all the lifestyle in the world, and you're selling cocaine, that's not going to work either. Because you're just like,
well,
yeah, you're just like, the impact I'm making sucks.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So to me, what we're trying to do is, how do I raise my income? But really, how do I create a great life?
Yeah.
And then how really do I impact the world? Like, do I leave people better than I found them, and leave like my market, my community, my family, just people are better because I came. And if you do that right, if you impact people properly, you actually should feed the income. And if the income has good teams and systems, you actually should feed the lifestyle, and the lifestyle hopefully will feed more impact, and it just becomes like a circular loop. And so to me, that's really the goal.
Yeah.
The goal is increase your income all of that at the end of the day is freedom. All of that today is you rid yourself of entitlement. All of that today is you start doing all of those things to say, I'm going to go chase that dream. I'm going to go make my life matter.
Yeah.
And to me, it's that combination. It's not, at first I thought it was just, I just want to make more money.
Yeah.
That was kind of like all I could see.
Yeah. Right.
And then I started realizing, like, I remember like particularly in sales, I mean, I grinded, dude, and freaking put points on the board and the whole thing. And then January 1st,
we were talking about door to door.
That's right. January 1st, I was at zero.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not creating a life that I love. I'm just grinding right now.
Yep.
And so I wanted to learn how to create a great life, plus have a ton of perpetual residual income, and then also build a ton of impact in people's lives.
Well, I mean, a friend of mine, his name is Brad Lee. I don't know if you know who he is. He has a Dropping Bombs podcast. Super successful dude, love him to death. And he said this, and it was awesome way to put it. He goes, if I gave you $100 million right now, would you take it? Like, yeah, of course. He goes, but if I then told you that you wouldn't wake up tomorrow, would you take it?
Yeah.
It's like, no, of course not. No one in their right mind would probably take that.
It's a great question. It's a great analogy.
So that's how valuable it is for you to wake up tomorrow. So it's not about the money, it's about the life you want. Because if it doesn't matter, if your life doesn't matter, it's all about the money. Well, we'll take that 10 times out of 10, right? 100 mil? Fuck yeah, But no, it's about the life. So you're saying exactly, the money is just the tool.
Yeah.
The money could turn into Bitcoin one day. Hell, it could turn back into gold. We go back to Stone Age days and we're trading like, I don't know what, like, it doesn't matter. It's just the currency.
Yeah, of course.
It's just the transactional piece that we have that trades us for the lifestyle, the house, the cars, the vacations, the freedom. Maybe it's just the freedom to do nothing and spend time with your family. Maybe it's like you want to see Portugal or Japan it doesn't matter what it is. I love it. It's the lifestyle that people want. And the lifestyle can only be brought when you start providing that kind of value, right? So, okay, talk to me about this, right? So your 5 multi-million-dollar business that you started, one that is currently doing billions in sales, right?
Billions accumulative. So we're multiple hundreds of millions a year, but a billions accumulative.
Okay, well I mean, hey, hell, it's still billions, right? So talk to me about that business currently. What's the name of the business? The operations?
So it's a company called Modere, and I was brought in 9 years ago as a consultant to help transform a 25-year-old company. Company was at the time was a couple $100 million a year in sales. We did business in 20 plus countries around the world, but it had 8 years of declining revenue.
Wow!
So it was really in the need of a transformation. It was a company that was in the kind of the direct sales network marketing space.
Right.
And I'd been in that world for a number of years. I built 2 large businesses there. I'd sold my business there, and
that were some of those other businesses we're talking about. Doing multi-million. Awesome.
Yeah. They were all, they were all big businesses.
Yeah.
But I ended up selling my last one when I was 30. I got out of the direct sales network marketing world for 2 years. I was doing private equity consulting. I felt like that business model, I felt like it was ripe for disruption. I felt like if someone doesn't know that space is basically what's called a self-consumption model. Self-consumption simply means this. You sign up in a company as like a distributor of that company's products,
right.
and you start consuming them yourself. You start using them yourself.
Right.
And then you sign up other people who consume them. They sign up people who consume. They sign up people who consume. I have no problem with us consuming the products. I think we should. There's incredible products in the space. And it's hard to recommend a movie you've never seen, restaurant you've never eaten at. So I'm cool with that. I have no problem with us recruiting other people to consume the products and for them to build their own business. I'm cool with that. The challenge was in that space, we didn't have enough real consumers, meaning real customers.
Yeah.
All of the consumption's happening through like a network of people versus like end of the line retail customers. And when you look at, the One Kings Lane, Fab, Gilt, Zulily, the list kind of goes on. And there's all these new online retail brands that have come to market. They've done it all really through word of mouth. They've obviously used maybe some social ads, but really just through word of mouth. A lot of it's through give, get codes, like give 10, get 10 type codes. And they do millions of customers, billions in sales. And I thought to myself, they're out word of mouthing the word of mouth industry, which is the direct sales network marketing industry. And so we had this chance. We were backed by a $2.3 billion equity fund. We had a chance to just literally rip this 25-year-old company to the floorboards and just freaking rebuild. So we built Modere. We built this customer acquisition business model called social retail. And the first 4 to 4.5 years. So the two hardest things to do in business. The hardest thing to do in business is a turnaround. Turnarounds are brutal, dude, because there's existing culture, existing operations. Right. It's like changing the engine of a 737 at 30,000 feet. It's not easy.
Yeah, keep it going. Yeah.
And the second hardest thing to do is a startup. We basically did both at the same time. Tore this one down and then just like launched this little startup company. So we had this. It's like a 25-year-old startup is kind of what it was. First 4 or 5 years, we're transforming all these countries around the world. Can you imagine one day the customer's getting this product, next day they're getting whole new brand, and they're like, what just happened? So there's just a ton of communication, ton of logistical work. In 2019 was our biggest year ever. 2020 we grew by 300%. Wow. 2021 that we just finished, every month in 2021 was our biggest month that we'd ever had of that month. Wow. And so we like the momentum was just really strong. But what's interesting is that model put in 4 million customers, which in my space is like probably the fastest growing company in the history of my space to do 4 million customers. Wow. Probably by quite a ways. We did that in 7 years. Did $2 billion in sales. We paid out $1 billion in commissions to this community of social marketers. We gave them a free app, and they had a $10 discount code. They could start connecting customer site, taught them how to market online, how to make money on social media. So they didn't have to bug, chase, nag, annoy people. They didn't have to do home parties. They didn't have to do some of the goofy crap that a traditional network marketing business would do. Right. But they could still learn how to make money online, which is, there's a chasm in our economy. Those that know how to make money online and those that don't. Yep. And you want to like find a way to cross the chasm and get to the learning. I know how to make $1 online. Right. And they could do it in carpool lines waiting for kids. They could do it at lunch breaks. They could do it nooks and crannies. And we've been able to create just this economic engine to be able to provide for families all over the world, And so that business, I have a ton of passion for that business because I feel like we're just getting that business started. We're actually launching in March what I would call social retail 2.0. So we launched a concept called code sharing, these $10 give get codes. And we're launching a time-bound code sharing that I think will create even more virality in our customer-to-customer sharing. So I think like where this thing's headed is going to be nuts. And so we really disrupted that space. We become kind of the business model and the company that everyone's chasing. They're just trying to catch up to that model. Yeah. And I was a consultant going back 9 years. I was a consultant. It took us about a year to transform it. And then once we started creating the concept and the idea, if you've ever done consulting work, you know how it is. You do it at the end, you shake hands, and you're like, all right, fellas, good luck. Yeah, right. Go crush it. Because your time is over. Your retainer's over. Your time's over. Once we kind of got to the end of it, I was like, I'm freaking in, dude. Like, I want to go prove this is all going to go work. So I went into the field, launched a brand new team. Next month will be 8 years ago. And it's been unbelievable. Again, it was a grind. It was a lot of years of really, really hard work. Yeah. I tell people ideas are easy, execution's hard. Yes. So it's easy to talk a big game. It's easy to talk idea. Yeah. But it's hard to like freaking put a team together and actually go make those real. Absolutely. And it took us, we had an idea that was ahead of our time. So it took us a while to execute on the idea. But now that we have that, my passion now is just helping people go to the next level in their life and next level of income. We were talking about this before. What really turned me on to the kind of the network marketing space and then also specifically the social retail space, is I read a Kiyosaki book. I think I was 21, 22. And I'm in sales and I'm learning to make $1. And he says, so imagine if you're writing this on your notes. He says, poor people, and he underlines it. And I remember thinking, I don't like this already.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to be poor. You know?
Right.
He said they have income. And then he draws an arrow down from the word income to the word expenses. So he says, basically, they make money, pay bills.
Right.
And I thought to myself, I have an income and I have expenses.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't think I'm poor, you know, but that's, he's describing me. He says, next page, rich, underlines it. And I go, that's what I want to be. I want to be the rich guy. Have an income. He has an arrow down under the word income to the word assets. And then he has an arrow down below the word assets to the word expenses. He says they make money, build assets, assets pay their expenses. And I thought, what's an asset? I'd never heard of that. I'd never even heard the word before. And his definition in this example was something that generates cash for you every month, regardless of whether you continue to exchange time or effort. So for example, is your house an asset? In his definition would be no, because you're paying a mortgage or paying a property tax. In other words, you're paying money in. His whole thing is it's generating cash out. It's like a rental property, for example, would be. Now, two ways to build assets. One is you make $1 and then you invest money. So you invest money to build an asset. Second way is through a business. You start a business. You've done both, which is what a lot of people do is they'll be like, okay, like I'll create businesses to create assets and invest so you can speed up the process a little bit, right? Then you get to a point where your assets pay your bills or your expenses versus your income. You keep your income. That concept just freaking blew my mind. And so I was like, I'm in on this. I just was like, how do I build assets? How do I build assets? So I started to like learn some little investing strategies. And this is back when I had, you know, at the time, the more money you have, the more opportunities you have, right? I had very little money, so I had very little opportunities. But what made sense about network marketing is the challenge with business for most people is we're looking for the upside. We want the sword to cut up. The problem is it's double bladed. So it also cuts down. There's risk, right? So you have to put X amount of money in, you know, X amount of time. Maybe you have to get a loan. And so for a lot of people, if you don't succeed, which most businesses don't, you know, you should look at the stats, then there's a massive downside. That's what keeps people in their cubicle. They're just like, frick, dude, I can't risk it. And there's some people that are just like, you know, screw this, I'm fine. And then they lose it all because they didn't calculate the risk. The power I thought of direct sales when I was first introduced to it, building a network, was massive upside potential with really no downside risk. The downside risk is like your effort and your time, but you're going to have effort and time in your job too. In other words, I was going to put work in either way. So then there's 3 ways to build wealth, right? 3 ways to build wealth. Number 1 is maximize your income earning potential. Like if I was sitting down with one of your listeners and they said, I want to build wealth. Step 1, make more money. Maximize your income earning potential. You gotta freaking make more cash. Like get better at your job, get better at your skills. I was talking to a kid the other day at the gym. I was walking out of the gym, had my hoodie on, and he's 25 years old, young guy. And he goes, hey, do you mind if I stop you for a second? Yeah, what's up, dude? And he goes, you pull up here in a G-Wagon and I saw you on Instagram and like, what do you do for work, bro? And like, you know, who are you? What's going on?
That's the famous question.
And I go, you know, I just chat with him for a second. I go, do you have a piece of paper? And he had like a back of an envelope. And I was penciling this out. I was just like, step 1, maximize. He's leaving, working at the front counter at the gym, and he's going to a car dealership to sell cars. I told him, I said, good for you, because in sales he'll be able to maximize his income potential's higher.
No question.
So number 1 is maximize. Number 2 is minimize your expenses. So what happens to most people is they make $1 and they spend $1. In fact, they make $1, they spend $1.10 kind of thing. So when they make 50 grand a year, they basically spend 50. When they make 100 grand a year, so they maximize it to 100. Now they're spending 100. You want to create a gap. So you maximize your income, and then you actually are cutting out personal expense. So pay off your freaking credit cards, pay off your pay off your cars, like pay your stuff off. You know, if you have to have some debt, maybe on your house, but the point is you start to minimize and maximize. And that gap leads to 3, which is build assets, build cash flowing assets. And if someone had that strategy, so the whole goal is you know, building assets, maximize, minimize, create a gap, build assets. You have that formula and you get really dialed and you learn how to maximize and then learn how to minimize, you're gonna set yourself up, right?
No question.
So for me, what I get passionate about is I help people do at least 2 of those 3. I help them to maximize their income earning potential. They can learn to freaking make more cash. So whether it's $1,000 a month, 10,000 or 100,000, whatever it is, you're making more, you're maximizing.
Right.
And then number two is I help them to build a cash flow asset, because the cool thing about our businesses is you can collect the residual cash flow.
Right.
And so you own them, you can sell them, you can will them to your kids, you can sit on them and collect the residuals, you can borrow money against them. It's a business entity just like you would, but it's something that you can do with huge upside with no risk. And that was the real power of it.
Right. Well, it's funny because you're talking about that. I tell people all the time, especially now with like how things are with money, life doesn't really start as an investor, as someone who's going to create some assets, until you have about $100K cash. I know there's people out there saying, oh, well, you can invest $1,000, you can invest $10,000, and they start going on this thing. And honestly, even if you had 50 grand where you could put 20% down on the average price in the US as a $300,000 home, now you got one rental property. You're probably going to make $300 a month off of that thing. Like straight up, like the cash flow on one rental property.
I think it'd be less than that.
It's probably less than that. I'm being generous, right? The rental properties, the income that people always look at real estate like, oh my gosh, like I want to get in real estate and create the cash flow. I'm like, yeah. But do you realize how much cash you're going to need, or at least to raise in order to get into that situation? Like if you don't at least have 100 grand to put into a business and that will start paying you, or if you haven't stashed your cash to at least 100 grand a year, life doesn't start. You're still in the grind. And even at 100 grand, you'll quickly realize like, oh, that's not a lot. Like, what can I really create when it comes to, like an asset that's paying with 100 grand? Not a lot. Straight up, it's not going to be life-changing yet, So that's why I love what you're saying, because that's my whole business model is I want to help people make more money.
Yeah.
Once you start making more money, okay, you're in the grind. You're making more money.
Doors.
Yeah, it opens all these doors. Now you can start actually creating a little momentum in your life. But really, life doesn't start until you're at least 100 grand cash.
Yeah, let me say this. I know a lot of your audience is in their 20s. And I'm not player hating here, so hear me out here, guys. There's this thing right now with like Jordan's shoes. There's like a freaking dude. You're rocking them. It's all good.
I'm rocking the Balenciagas.
There's a shoe thing right now. Right?
Yes, right.
So we will go to a sporting event, and we will take off our shirt, paint ourselves a color, freaking hug people we don't know when they score a touchdown.
Right.
We will show so much passion and enthusiasm and just energy. We know stats. We can tell you where they came from, the school they were at before, how much their salary is, and yet we're spending none of that passion, none of that enthusiasm cheering on our own freaking life and like making stuff happen for ourselves.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And Jordan's brand's built, dude. Like he doesn't need us to buy any more shoes.
Yeah.
Like I see all these kids and I'm like, yo, these are not investments, guys.
Yeah.
Like save that freaking money, take that same energy that you have in fantasy football and transfer it into your own freaking life.
Yep.
And like know more about your stats. Like what's your, like what are all your KPIs in your business? How many prospects do you need to talk to?
Yep.
How many follow-ups do you need to do? How many calls do you need to make? Like, what is your closing percentage? You should know all those percentages.
Yep.
What is in your bank account? How much money are you making on your money? Like, how much money what does that investment cost?
Yeah.
Like, you should know that stuff cold
Yeah.
more than the fantasy football stuff. You only have so much brain power. And so I see this generation and I'm like, yo, you guys have a chance to separate yourselves unlike any other generation. Separation season right now, dude.
Yes.
Everyone's distracted, you're focused. Everyone's full of fear, you're full of faith. Everyone's discouraged, you're full of enthusiasm and positivity.
Right.
Everyone's focused on frickin' Jordans and building Jordan's brand. Go build your own brands. Honestly, it's some stuff you're doing right now. Go build your own brand. Go pay off your own personal debts. Like go use that same energy, same fire that you have, same bottled up like enthusiasm you have, and apply it to your own freaking dreams and goals.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I wish more people would understand this. There's never in the history of our world been an easier time to make money than now because everyone's so distracted.
That's exactly right.
Everyone is so distracted. Here's what's so funny. I have all these friends who are making great money at one thing, and then it was gone, and now they're doing nothing. And I'm talking maybe month to month or quarter to quarter. They're switching back and forth between NFTs, crypto, day trading, all this stuff, that trendy pop-up stuff that happens. All of a sudden they're an expert at it, and now they're making money at it. They probably will start making money at it, but how sustainable is it long term, right? The thing is everyone is so distracted by the new thing, and they always will be, because the rate of information, the rate of social media, the rate of trends, it will always be this way. If you could just have the discipline to stay focused on one thing, stay on track for 5 years, and if it were something that actually were a business that could then build a system and pay you for the rest of your life, you have no idea how much money you'll create in your life if you could just avoid the distractions.
Yeah. So think of it this way. You focus to build wealth and you diversify to keep wealth. Like this like multiple streams of income, not in the early days, dude.
Right.
Early days, you got to get obsessed with something.
Yes.
You got to go be the best at something.
Yeah.
Like go dominate a category and like go all in. And to your point, go give yourself freaking 5 years, 10 years. I was on a podcast the other day. This is shout out. This will make a point. It's called The Real Business Owners is the name of their podcast.
Yeah.
And their whole thing is like, we're real business owners. They own businesses and we help real business owners.
Yeah.
Okay. They said on there, they go, give yourself 8 to 10 years to go build a real business. Like I said earlier, when I was 25 years old, I couldn't cast out vision far enough to 5 years barely, let alone 8 to 10 years. 8 to 10 years, 35. Oh my gosh, felt like freaking forever.
Yeah, old, man.
Dude, you guys know how it is. Life goes fast. And honestly, the older you get, the faster it goes. Yeah. Like you look back at your kids and you're like, what the? These kids were like little kids and now they're like teenagers, you know? Life goes super fast. So my friends, get that same focus to build wealth, get obsessed, dominate a category, become the best, become in the 1% of your profession, 1% of whether it's insurance, network marketing, pick something that you can get rich at and get great at it.
Yeah.
And then you build up this cash flow that you're talking about and cash reserves that you're talking about. Then you can diversify. Then you can start doing other things. Then you can, so you focus to build wealth and then you diversify to keep it. But get great. Get great. Like I see people like, how do I build my personal brand? The best way to build your personal brand is to be awesome.
Yes.
When you're awesome, people talk about it.
Right. Oh my gosh. Like I know people who are multi-millionaires, like probably $100 million net worth, because the dude developed a machine that would milk cows in Idaho. And that's what he's good at. And this dude's got $100 million net worth. He's got all the toys you can think of. He's making a fuck ton of money. I also know a dude who's making a lot of money because he has a machine that crunches up rocks in a really cool way so that they can then sell it to people who want rocks in their yard. And he's making crazy amounts of money. There's a dude who literally invented this thing where he injects it into bulls' testicles and it helps them get ready to, inseminate the cattle a lot faster so then you can produce more cattle. Why am I saying this? Because somehow these dudes stuck to it.
Yeah.
They stuck to something that none of us are thinking about, and they're making hundreds of millions of dollars. I've had people on this podcast who are making crazy money in roofing, in all the industries, whether, like you're saying, insurance, network marketing. Who cares? Who cares? Do you have any idea how many industries there are for you to make money in, especially now that our young generation's so distracted? If you could just buckle down and build some. I know a dude who's building an epoxy business, and all of a sudden he's getting contracts with Red Bull. And it's like, oh man, he's onto something. And he kept his head down. Yeah, he's disciplined. He's our age. He's in his 20s. Yeah. And I'm like, good for you, dude. Yep. Because guess what? He's going to buy all the NFTs, all the crypto he wants. He's going to buy all the stuff he wants because he built something and he just pours it into that.
Yes.
Afterward, right? So, dude, what you're saying, like, it's true, right? And if I could just circle back to one thing about network marketing, because we're here in Utah, right? Yeah. We're in the capital of the world, some people would say, for network marketing. And I told you before this, I think if enough people could just get over their own fucking ego,
of course,
and try it out, you'd realize a lot about yourself. Right. And by the way, I think door-to-door is a network marketing plan. Yeah. It is. I don't care what anyone says. It's network marketing. You build teams, you build out. The only difference is instead of distributing, whatever the product is, you go knock doors.
Of course.
Right. So the systems, what you learn is you learn a lot about yourself, how you manage teams, how you manage yourself on your own basis. You are your own boss, the whole thing. And if you look at this, what people don't realize is some of the biggest names that we know in the social media space, people we look to, Robert Kiyosaki, Russell Brunson. Right? From ClickFunnels. I got ClickFunnels right here, right? Russell Brunson, Ed Mylett, Patrick David. Yeah. How many of these people have millions of followers and we all listen to them and go and go? They started and probably still are in network marketing. Mm-hmm. So what's everyone's deal with network marketing? Why do you just shut the fuck up about it and go give it a shot and learn a little bit about yourself? What? Because your buddies that are not doing a whole lot in life are going to make fun of you for it? Good. Because your network is equal to your net worth. And if those fuckers don't like it, then you should look at where they're at, where they're heading and see, am I going to want to be like them or am I going to be like these guys? I mean, look at what you're doing and your lifestyle. Like, look at the life you can create in that kind of market sphere. Yeah. So why do you have such a big problem with it?
It's so funny. I was 25 years old. I get a call from a medical doctor friend of mine. Mm-hmm. I work at a mall kiosk and I do door-to-door. So from a lifestyle perspective, and by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm saying, like, it's not like I'm just like living the dream life.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you're grinding.
I'm grinding and I'm good at what I do. I was the top guy they had in the company in 26 years, but it's not like my dream scenario.
Right.
medical doctor friend of mine calls me, and I'm like, hey, what's up? You know, I don't talk to him very much. He's a surgeon down at St. Mark's, one of the top surgeons in the country. And he goes, network marketing. And dude, I had like this visceral, it was the strangest thing, like this visceral reaction to it. Like, I was like, oh, hell no, you know?
Yes.
And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't do those things, dude. I thought it was like the thing that you did if you couldn't get a real job, you know, like the guy that couldn't figure it out. Did it.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, who conned Dr. Anderson into conning me into one of those one things? And he's like, I asked him, who introduced you to this? And he told me the guy's name. The guy was one of the sharpest dudes, one of the sharpest entrepreneurs I know. And I was like, if it's good enough for you two, like, I guess I'll look at it.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So then I remember I looked at it, I was like, man, you could work for, you have all upside potential, really no downside risk. It's a couple $100 to start a network marketing business.
Yeah.
So there's no downside risk. You remember your thing about like, you need a hundy in the bank. Network marketing, you don't need a hundy, dude. You can like start this thing, sweat equity this thing, just get to work, right? Upside potential, no downside risk. Also, you can work for 3 or 4 or 5 years of your life, and you can potentially build an income stream that could follow you for decades.
Right.
I was like, and you can go travel and teach and train and like inspire people. And like, in my case, I was in more of the health sector, but like talk about nutrition and health. And I was like, what is there freaking not to like by this whole thing? I was like, why are everyone so skeptical about it? You own it, you can sell it. I was like, I'm in, dude.
Yeah, right.
And for me, so I was a former athlete. I did football, basketball, track, and I used to box. I used to fight. And I'm pretty competitive. Like I like to win, and I believe success is an identity process. So you'll never outperform the way you see yourself. And so if you think you're a loser, you're not going to show up and play like a winner. And if you think you're a winner, you're not going to roll over and quit like a loser. Right. Like you just have an identity of like, nah, I'm not. I'm better than this. I got this.
Right.
So I remember when I joined, I was like, I'm going to freaking go crush this. I'm going to go crush this thing, you know? Right. Now, with that said, it was harder than I thought. It took longer than I thought. All the stuff we talked about.
All those things, yeah.
But man, you know, I've become one of the top earners in the world of network marketing, if not the number one earner on the planet of network marketing, you know? And I share that not to boast or brag, other than to say like, yo, it's a profession that you put in the time and learn the skills and you can do it.
Right.
And so that's the first thing. And the second thing is, why do people have issues with it? I think there's a whole bunch of different reasons, but the number one is any business or faith or whatever that's very proactively recruiting or proactively like in door-to-door, people are like, dude, summer sales, you're a loser. Yeah. I'm like, no, you're not. But they had an uncle or a friend or a brother-in-law that tried it and didn't, you know, because they're proactively going out. Right. Or if a faith is out there, you know, out there proactively prospecting, people are like, I don't want to, you know, we get because we defend our own positioning, you know. And network marketing is an easy in business. There's very little barrier to entry. So businesses that take hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars to get into, your sophistication of buyer is typically a little higher. They're probably more accredited, and the risk level is obviously higher. So you'll still have some people that say that business sucks because they failed, but really you're getting a more sophisticated person. Where in network marketing, anyone can join. Yeah, and so anyone can also walk out the back door the same day as a quote unquote failure. But here's what I share with you about failure. This is good regardless of what profession you're in. Our whole life we've been trained to say that failing is bad. If I fail, that equals pain. Yeah. So if you are in the sports team and you don't make the catch, if you're on the sports team and you don't get in the game, or if you don't make the sports team and you failed, that hurts. Yeah. Or if you don't get the grade and you failed, that hurts. Or if you are paying if you get fired or you fail at your job and you can't pay your rent, that hurts. It equals pain. Then also we're thrown into entrepreneurship. So you're thrown into network marketing or whatever the entrepreneur journey is for you. And in entrepreneurship, you either win or you learn. So failure is not final in entrepreneurship. Failure is fertilizer. Your success grows in the fertilizer of failure. And so what happens is you either win or learn. If you learn, you win. So there's no win or fail. You know, it's not like you either win or you fail. It's like, no, are you learning? Are you growing? Are you adapting? And that's where you build that muscle, that entrepreneurial maturity, that resilience, that ability to stand back up. You know, you knock down 7, up 8. You build that muscle through the learning process. I mean, dude, I sucked at what I do when I started. I was brutal. My first few presentations are like painful to talk about. My first conference call, I thought I was supposed to be 30 minutes. I took 2 minutes. I literally pushed eject 2 minutes in. I was like, I'm out. Peace. And I was like, went and sat in the fetal position in my shower. I was like, what am I doing? For reals, I sucked at it. But now, you know, you speaking around the world and you know it. It's because you built the muscle over time. Yeah. So network marketing to me is probably the best kept secret in the business world because it is a powerful, powerful engine. What's interesting with the whole pandemic and people working from home and people realizing the great resignation, I don't have to do this job forever. There's a massive opportunity in network marketing because people are looking for what network marketing provides. Now, if you can find the right mentorship, right company, the thing I would share with you about network marketing is this. There's a doability factor. I'll bet you'll agree with me in the insurance world, in the door-to-door world. Doability to me means this. By the way, I don't even know if doability is a word. So this is my word.
It is now.
It is now. So here's what it means. Same guy, same rep, right? Same month for month, year for year, decade for decade in door-to-door, in insurance, in network marketing, in car sales. In network marketing, they all sound about the same, the companies. We have a great company, great products, great comp plan, great system, great timing, like great culture. It all sounds, if you listen to 15 presentations, you'd feel like, I just swear they all say the same thing. Same thing in door-to-door, same thing in insurance. We'd all kind of say the same thing.
Right.
But the same rep, year for year for year, same effort, same person would have dramatically different results depending on the company they choose, the mentorship they choose, the system they're working in, the momentum of the company. There's factors that you want to look for, right? And with me, I mean, my first company, the guy that introduced me quit, guy that introduced him quit. He was introduced by the company. Company had no momentum. The company eventually went out of business. I became the number 3 earner, national spokesperson for this company, but I didn't know what the crap I was doing, you know?
Yeah, right.
If I would have had good mentorship and had someone that freaking knew what the heck they were doing, it helps you to really, really crush faster. So the doability is different. And I liken it to like Ford and Tesla. So Ford and Tesla would both basically say, we have great cars, we're a great company, we have great company culture. Well, here we are. So Tesla is 8 years old. So 3 years into it, they were at 31 billion. Ford was 56. 5 years later, Tesla is now $1 trillion. So it went from 31 to $1 trillion, which $1 trillion is almost hard to even compute in your brain.
For a car.
Ford went from 56 to 100 billion. So they grew. But Ford mocked Tesla. They're like, who do you guys think you are?
Right.
So you would say, if you were to invest your money, the doability of a Tesla stock is dramatically different, even though they said about the same thing.
Right.
So if you're going to invest your time into a network marketing business, you want to find some of those components: great mentorship, great systems, products that really are marketable in the marketplace, can create spin, and a timing in that business's history, life cycle.
Yeah. Man, I love it. Well, he covers some great stuff on this episode, man. So if there's one thing you'd want to leave our audience with, what would it be?
Yeah, here's what I'd share with you guys. I would encourage you to be the one. And so here's what I mean. So ask yourself this. How many of you know how your parents met? Like, how did mom meet dad? How did dad meet mom? When your mom was your age, your dad was your age, what were their dreams and their goals and their passion? What was your dad fired up about in his life? What woke him up early and kept him up late? How many of you know how your grandma and grandpa met? Like, what was your grandpa's passions as a young man? What got him fired up? What about your grandma? Like, what was she? What did she want to be when she grew up? What were her goals? How many of you know your great grandma's story, great grandpa's story? How did they meet? How did they fall in love? What was his journey? What was the story he wrote? What was something that she was really got her going? What about your great grandma? Your great grandpa? How many of you know the story of your great grandpa, great? So you look up that lineage, you're like, how do you know who the guy is?
Yeah, right.
You want to be the one that writes a story, that lives a life that future generations of kids who are yet unborn, when they look up into that family lineage, they say, it was her. It was him. He's the one. He's the one that broke the generational curse. He's the one that broke the chains. He's the one that taught financial prosperity and the laws of economics to our family. She's the one she's the one that changed us forever. And they're telling your story. And what's interesting about Be the One is this. Guess how many people it takes to break a generational curse. Guess how many people it takes to say, I'm not going to be an alcoholic, even though my dad was, my grandpa was, my great grandpa was. One. Guess how many people it takes to say, I'm going to become a millionaire in my family, even though my parents were both broke, my grandparents were broke, my great grandparents were broke. It takes one person, one decision. And what's also interesting is, although it only takes one, there's infinite amounts of ones. Like, you're the one in your life, dude. Well, I'm the freaking one in my life too. And so we can all be the one. The second thing I'd leave you with is, be is not become. So we talk a lot about becoming, which, by the way, I agree with. But be is be. Like, it's a present state. It's not grow into it. It's be it today. And I'll leave you with this story. So there's a young man in growing up in Wichita, Kansas, flunking out of high school, flunking out of his life, hanging out with the wrong kids, raised by a single mom. He says to his mom, May of his junior year, he promises her he'll take the SAT test. And if you remember the SAT, it's 800 points on both sides, math side, reading comprehension. So 1,600 points total, max you could get. The kid's flunking out of school, goes and takes the test, gets the results back, is totally stunned. Kid freaking scores a 1480 out of 1600, which means the kid's a genius.
Yeah.
So he's like, what the crap? Takes it back to his mom, hands it to her. And his mom did what, our moms would have done to us. She goes, baby, did you cheat? He goes, Mama, I did not cheat. This is real. I promise, So she goes, man, my son's smart. Well, he realizes if I'm so smart, I should go to class. Goes to class and changes his behavior because he's not hanging out with the bad kids anymore. Graduates from high school, graduates from junior college, graduates from Wichita State, ultimately goes to the Ivy Leagues, graduates in the Ivy Leagues. Becomes an entrepreneur in the magazine industry, becomes a multimillionaire in the magazine industry. You say, wow, what a cool story. Here's a kid that was flunking out of his life and then realized how smart he is. He's a freaking genius and changes his life. It's not the end of the story. Yeah. So 13 years later, he gets a letter in the mail from Princeton, New Jersey. They say, we periodically review our test-taking policies, test-taking procedures. In the year that you took the test, you're one of 12 students that was sent the wrong test score. You didn't score a 1480. You scored a 740. And he said, people have been telling me my whole life, your life changed when you got that test score of 1480. He said, no, my whole life changed when I started acting like a 1480. So be the 1480 today. Like, be the one today. Leave this podcast and be like, freaking start making decisions like I'm the one. I'm going to start living a life like I'm the one. I'm going to have courage like I'm the one. I'm going to have confidence like I'm the one. I'm going to have commitment like I'm the one. I'm going to have drive like I'm the one. I'm going to treat people like I'm the one. I'm going to be the one that future generations of kids who are yet unborn know. And also, you have a whole heritage of people that have come before you. They're saying, you got this, dude. You can do this. Like, your playing small doesn't serve the world. People are counting on you to go out there and make things happen in life, add some value, serve people. And so go out there and be the one.
Man, I love it, man. Well, listen, everyone watching this, we dropped some fire on this. Go follow this guy. Obviously, he's full of gold gems, and just you want to, hear more from this guy. Go follow him on Instagram. I am Justin Prince. Is there anywhere else people can get a hold of you?
Yeah, they go to my site, IamJustinPrince.com.
Okay.
All throughout all the social platforms.
Okay. IamJustinPrince.com. We're going to link all this in the link below. Make sure you guys go follow this guy. Obviously, he's doing big things. I'm excited to see where things take
Thanks,
you, man.
brother.
Thanks for coming
on.
on.
Honored to meet you, man.
Appreciate it.